Hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask Clever Over Coffee, How AI Built This. I am your host, John Marino, and I'm here along with ChatGPT, who is voiced this week by Sam Devine.
Hi, everyone.
Appreciate
Happy to be here. A little different than Billy.
Yes, different voice, same ChatGPT.
That's right.
We're good to go. We're good to go. Well, I'm super excited about this episode because this week we're talking all about AI in the news. And at the top of 2025, there is so much going on in AI that we felt like it would be a great time to do a show about it. And I have two experts from the area and in the industry that are coming here to talk to you guys about it. And the first one is Matt Spencer, who's founder and principal of EchoPoint. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And the second one is Chris Cathers, CEO of Octellient. How you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, John.
Absolutely. Well, just to give everybody who's watching or listening just a little bit up to speed about your guys' background, Matt, why don't you go first? Just tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing.
Sure. Matt Spencer, 25 years in technology. And my recent thing is I launched EchoPoint in May of 2024. And it's all about scaling and protecting small and medium businesses.
Awesome. Awesome. And it's a growing business.
Yes, it is.
And we'll get much more into it because we were talking a little bit pre-show about it, and there's a lot to cover here today. Chris, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so Chris Cathers, CEO of Octellient, also hosts a podcast called Grit Meets Growth. Octellient, we're in the AI consulting space as well as the information security advisory space, so helping organizations really make sense of their data, secure their data, and operationalize that data through AI.
Ask Clever Over Coffee, How AI Built This, explores AI through in-depth interviews with industry professionals across a broad spectrum. John Marino and ChatGPT, voiced by the wonderful Billy Darkenwald, dive deep into common fears and concerns, as well as the immense potential AI has to change so much of what's happening in business, politics, and everyday life. Ask Clever Over Coffee, How AI Built This is your go-to source for information about AI that is both current and relevant. Hey there, do you own a business, but maybe you don't want to do your own podcast? Maybe you're a little camera shy? If your company would like to sponsor this show and get your message in front of our growing and motivated audience, click the link to Divine Fox Productions. Or maybe you're ready to jump in and start your own show. We've conveniently made it so you can click the very same link to Divine Fox Productions. How clever was that?
Now, I feel like that's a growing business as well. There's a lot going on. What is one of the biggest business challenges that you see potential clients or people in the industry that are facing this year right now?
Yeah, I think it's just what we were talking about prepping for this call, or this podcast today. It really comes down to having a backup and recovery strategy that is effective and tested. It's alarming to me the number of small, mid-sized organizations that aren't backing up their data correctly, that haven't tested those backups. And when a situation hits, a ransomware attack or something of that sort, they have no data to back up from, right? They are held that ransom. If you've got immutable backups and you've got a strategy, you can recover outside of paying that ransom. And we're seeing that happening more and more with some of the larger companies that are experiencing those ransomware attacks here over the last 6 months. But it's really key to test that information.
And what's so interesting is, so I worked on a project with a casino in Las Vegas, and they were talking about this very topic. And they said that you had to have a crypto wallet ready to go because at any time something could happen to your data and then it would be ransomed off. And if you don't pay within 24 to 48 hours, all your data is going to go bye-bye and you'll be locked out forever. And that's part of the contract that they put with the casino, is that you have to have that on standby with a certain dollar amount of crypto next to it. Is that what this crazy thing? I mean, that was a couple of years ago. Is that still the case? Or
It is still crypto. I mean, there's whole brokers. It's an entire business ecosystem on the on the attacker side. Everything from making it easy and having brokers available to, get your crypto so that you can make the payments to them, to the way the files are delivered back to you when you pay that ransom. It's big business for them. I mean, it's the biggest business in the world.
And of course, it's cheaper just to work with you and hire your company.
Well, it could save you some money in the long run because you've got the processes and the ability to, to safeguard against that and recover when those things happen.
Yeah.
We can absolutely lessen the impact.
Right.
To remove it 100%, nobody can remove that, that risk 100%.
Sure. But it's also about just having a plan when something goes bad. Like, how many of your clients are prepared when like something goes off rails from the tech side? Like, how many companies are you?
Well, the hope is that by the time we're done working with them, that they all have a plan,
right,
and it's tested, and we're continuing to work through that. But on the onset, I mean, there's many clients that we come into that hire us for our virtual CISO or fractional CISO advisory services that don't have a plan today, or they've got some sketch of something that may not meet the requirements of the business, or that has some challenges in how it will be recovered. So just working with them to identify where those gaps are and helping them fill them.
And then, Matt, when you're working with different clients, what are some of the biggest business challenges that you're working on right now with the clients you're working with?
I think a lot of it is just getting over that initial inertia. They know they need to do something, they want to do something, they don't know what, and it takes a lot just to get over that initial hump. Whether it's AI policy or use cases or a cybersecurity program or even replacing an old system, it's hard to get moving. But then once you get started, they're asking, when are we going to be done and why is it going to take so long?
Sure. And what's like the average time frame for a client that you're working with?
It's usually 6 months.
6 months?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Makes sense. All right. Well, guys, thanks for being on the show. I'm super excited to cover some main topics. Of course, we covered this all in our pre-show, so we're all ready and set to share our opinions. And for everybody watching or listening, you're gonna hear a difference of opinions on what's happening in AI. And let's just get right into it. First on the top of our list is Elon Musk offering OpenAI $97 billion to purchase from Sam Altman and OpenAI. Why do you think Musk wants to do that, Chris?
I think it's a safety and control standpoint, right? Musk has been talking about safety and control for a long time. He wants to be in a position of influence. We're dealing with, direction and alignment of ethics from an OpenAI perspective, which is going to be some of the challenges he's going to face. But, I think even though he says he's developing this XAI, if he can buy something versus build it, why wouldn't you, right?
Sure.
And then being able to tap into that within Tesla and X and SpaceX.
Yep. Yeah.
And move everything forward. And I think when you really study and analyze Elon Musk and what he's trying to do and what he's stated that he's trying to do, right? He is trying to create a better place for humanity.
I would agree with that. That's how I see it. What are your thoughts?
He was co-founder of the thing. He was
right.
involved with it, and it was always intended to be a nonprofit focused on safety and advancing.
Right.
Not profit.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the main reasons he did this was he doesn't. I think there's a fear of it going profit, for profit. He wants to maintain that nonprofit side, and I think his bid. It was interesting that it was 97.4 billion, and then Altman just said, "Well, we'll buy Twitter from you for 9.74 billion." Little tit for tat. But I think part of it is also it was a strategic move, if I view it. If Altman says no, which of course he is going to or did, there's some confusion now in the market. It was valued at 500 billion. The board is going to ultimately reject the bid for 97. They've got an evaluation coming up that is supposed to be in the several hundreds of billions. So I think this just throws a wrench and throws a cog in the wheel of Altman's plan to bring this to a for-profit company.
Sure.
It'll slow it down and give other people time to get in there and hopefully prevent it.
Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages for Sam Altman to take OpenAI to a for-profit, which is currently a nonprofit? What are some of the advantages of why you think that he wants to push for that?
For him specifically or society in
Either way.
general? Well, I mean, he'll make a killing,
Yeah.
as will everyone else involved. But I think whenever you put money in front of diligence, you're going to get a catastrophe. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And this is a dangerous thing if left to its own devices and only driven by profit.
Right.
So,
And you've got a board that sits there at OpenAI, and they have to approve it as well.
Yes, they do.
And all the legalities and moving from a nonprofit to a for-profit, it's going to be a battle regardless of.
Altman's on the board.
Yep.
So
Yeah, but he's just
trying to
one
buy a
person.
company from himself.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting dilemma for them, and the guardrails for all of us who are using ChatGPT, because ultimately, wouldn't you agree that ChatGPT is like the biggest behemoth in the space? Like they are the big boys. And then there are other players.
Sure.
For sure. You have Microsoft Copilot, you have Google's Gemini, you have China's DeepSeek, you have a few others.
Francis Claude.
Yeah, Claude, that's right, Claude. So there are other players, but I mean, they are the beacon. They are the ones who are guiding the whole industry. And with that, there is concerns on governance. There's concerns on safety. And then from, even a business standpoint, on many times, on many other episodes, we've talked about, the security of working with LLMs. What does that look like? How do you protect your own company's data? And, one of the things that is a running joke here is that you should never put your own financials into ChatGPT or your company's financials into ChatGPT, because then you're basically sharing it with the world right away. But those are some of the things. So, from a risk standpoint, OpenAI going to for-profit and always having to meet the demands of Wall Street. What do you think is some of the pitfalls of that?
Well, I think I'm gonna step back for a second before we talk on the financials and talk about our data out there.
Right.
I mean, they all have pay-to-play scenarios in
They do.
all of these models, right? And ensuring that your data in your workspace isn't shared to train the model.
That's right.
And we do that as a practice, whether I'm using Perplexity or whether I'm using ChatGPT within our company. We make sure that we're on the lockdown model. That's not to say it's perfect. It's not to say that it's removing all that risk, because there still is some risk. You're still sharing data with somebody else. But at least it's not going into the model. And at least my data isn't being shared and then being used by somebody else when you try to pull the same data.
That's right. Right. And using a closed LLM does give that closed, protected environment to a point. Of course, you are in the risk business, and what you're trying to say, which is what many people before you have said, which is that there's no 100% protective order on this, but to be mindful whenever you have a closed LLM. And when I'm looking at the pitfalls, I'm looking at when decisions are made to make money versus to actually provide a better experience, they are generally two different things. And I feel like that's what Elon is trying to do by forcing OpenAI to stay as a nonprofit, is really about being the guiding voice within this industry to do what's best for everyone in terms of like everything from when you have history questions to different biases, which is what is also been discussed here on many episodes as well with LLMs, is that you're trying to like provide quote unquote true statements, or as close to true as possible, without distorting it. And when you are putting for profit, you might actually, as a byproduct, allow for other biases that could be part of that equation. And I think that's why he's doing it. Would you agree or disagree?
I do, because it's for the same reason I use Perplexity over Google most of the time for my search. You know, Google, you've got to cut through all the ad spending that's done, all the sponsored results that come back. I don't have any of that with Perplexity. It's faster, it's quicker, it's more focused on the results that I'm looking for than Google is.
Sure.
So for that, it's that same idea that you're talking, right? Just bringing it over to another platform example.
Yeah. And would you say that more people are using ChatGPT to search or look for answers now whenever they're going versus Google? Do you think that's creeping in on Google search in general?
I still think ChatGPT's search isn't quite as good. I prefer Perplexity for search.
Okay.
I think ChatGPT is really good at analysis. It's really good at grinding through data to pull info and glean light out of it.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is pretty good at its answers as well. The challenge with all of AI, where we sit today, is the context. Right? It doesn't have context, and it forgets the context sometime in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't go back to, I painted the picture for you already.
Right.
And this is kind of some advanced stuff, I would say, right? I use ChatGPT every single day, all day.
Yep. Got it.
And so I've learned through that process of using it, the kind of prompting, the context to give it, to get the response back that I'm looking for.
Right.
And when it doesn't come back with that response that you're looking for, and you really try to hone it in, sometimes it will forget about what you already gave it as context previously, and it starts fresh, and you're like, what just happened?
Should I be offended over here?
No, ChatGPT, you're doing just fine. However,
I mean, it's getting a little personal.
No. ChatGPT, could you tell us who are the board members for OpenAI?
You got it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Google search, even personally, like if I'm looking for something specific to buy or maps and restaurants and that kind of stuff, I'm using Google search.
Sure.
But it's the questions that don't have an instant response, or you need a little bit of logic and reason built in. For example, what do you think about, or just putting in the question around the buyout of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a lot of cohesive answers through Google. You're going to get web articles and things like that. Whereas if you go into ChatGPT, you're going to get a thought out response referencing all of those articles. So it's all on kind of what information you want to get back and how much of it too.
And
I always go to page 2 on Google when the search results come back anyway, because that's where
you feel like that's where the relevant answers are.
You skip over all the stuff that's paid for and get to where the engine's was originally trying to get you to.
And it's interesting because I have an 18-year-old son, and I tell him that he's been trained to speak Google. So he is really good at finding information on Google, even better than I am. He's so good at it. He's like, well, Dad, you just got to look it up like this. And I'm like, oh, that's how you got to do it. And now I feel like that's changing because of OpenAI and other LLMs where now you can just talk and prompt it the way you want, the way you speak.
Much more natural.
And it's a little bit more natural. But, ChatGPT, could you tell us who is in charge of ChatGPT over there in OpenAI?
Yep, I've got it right here. I'm going to butcher a couple of these names.
That's fine.
So we've got Brett Taylor. As the chair, do you want me to tell you also what their history is?
Yeah, just real briefly.
Yep, former co-CEO of Salesforce and chairman of Twitter's board. Okay. Sam Altman, co-founder and CEO. Adam D'Angelo, co-founder and CEO of Quora. Dr. Sue Desmond-Hellman, former CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Zico Coulter, an AI professor at Carnegie Mellon. Retired U.S. Army General Paul Nakasone. That is the former director of the National Security Agency. And then Adebayo Ogunlisi, founding partner, chairman, and CEO of Global Infrastructure Partners. Nicole Seligman, attorney and former executive vice president of Sony, and Fiji Simo, CEO and chair of Instacart. Oh, one more. Lawrence Summers, former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury and president of Harvard University.
So an interesting group of people.
Cast of characters.
Yeah. That is
A little bit of power there. A little bit of influence.
A little bit of influence, and like you said, like they will most likely reject the offer by Elon, and I think the reason that Elon and his group did it is just to force a higher number to, if they were going to go to a for-profit, that they would, quote unquote, have to purchase from the nonprofit to go to for-profit and increase the raise on that to make everybody whole, which we'll see. It sounds like from the interviews that I have seen with Sam Altman that he's still undeterred, that they're still going to move forward. They're still going to stick to the bigger picture, the bigger plan of what they're doing. But it will be interesting as the year goes on and unfolds, because quite frankly, none of us even saw that happening, that Elon would actually make a formal bid for it on top of the other 5 companies that he runs.
Well, and I think all of that fighting and infighting and battling is going to do a couple of things. It's going to shake up the landscape, potential of consolidating power with fewer players.
Yep.
And it's going to open up regulatory exposure that we really don't want. And if you listen to J.D. Vance yesterday in France talking about it, he is encouraging the world to not over-regulate AI, that it's going to take away from the benefits that we're going to experience from AI. So he's cautioning the world to don't over-regulate this thing.
Right.
We need to let it disrupt research and governance and grow partnerships in this without over-regulation.
Sure. And, speaking of regulation, I know California put some regulation around AI. It did get shot down or temporarily paused. Recently, I would say about 5-6 months ago, I was at a networking event and met the person who is going to be in charge of AI regulation at the White House. And one of the things that we were discussing in that conversation was privacy. Who owns your privacy data and what can you do with that? And how much do you have to disclose as a company when you're sharing it with other people? And the more we talked about it, he was like, there is no environment that any corporation provides that's completely 100% a closed environment. You are sharing with them in some format. And what he said for the regulation piece is that he said there needs to be more regulation to protect our privacy. Thoughts on that? Because I have some thoughts.
And it's going to sound counterintuitive coming from a security guy.
Tell me.
Our data is already out there.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Our privacy, our data, people are freaking out about social security numbers. I gave my social security number out to everybody in college.
Right.
It was on every document.
It was your sign-in.
That's how you, right, exactly. It's how you signed in. Like, it's everywhere. Like, there is no privacy. There's very little security of our own private data anymore.
Right.
Passwords that have been leaked are sitting out there in the dark web.
Yep.
Privacy is in my opinion, privacy is a fallacy. It doesn't exist.
Most people gave it away. They use social media. Their privacy's gone. They're
Right.
telling you
Right.
where they live, their pet's name, that they're going on vacation. They're already giving it away.
Right. But then on the flip side, so speaking of social media, so Congress bans TikTok, wants to get rid of it and ban it completely, and it's because China owns 20% of it, and everybody working in the military, everybody working in different parts of the government, and you're teaching, the social media algorithm what you like, what you think, and then there's the influence from that algorithm to people, and that's why Congress bans it, right? And
I think that influence had the bigger play in that than privacy did.
Big time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why is that?
because it's massive influence on our society. They could cause us to, and have caused us to, go crazy.
Yeah. What you eat, what you watch, what you talk about, it's influencing all of it.
How you talk to people, how you deal with others that don't believe what you believe, on and on and on. That's
Sure.
all the influence that's been driven from China with TikTok, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's less about the privacy. Like I said, China already has all my information.
Yeah. And if you talk to young people, honestly, they would agree, right? Like they don't have a lot of flags about their privacy. When TikTok did get banned for, let's say, 24 hours, give or take a couple hours, a bunch of people were going to the China app. A bunch of young people, something like 3-4 million people jumped over to that. They just don't care. They just literally don't care. They want the tool more than, who has their data.
I mean, if privacy was such a big thing, like I literally can look up in about 2 seconds everything about you. I can know where you lived, all of your addresses that you lived at,
Right.
everybody that you've been associated with at that address. I mean,
100%.
if I go a little bit further, I could probably find your bank accounts pretty easily.
Right.
It's not that hard to find information on people.
Right. It's readily available because it's shared multiple times, bought and sold to multiple different companies.
And the information shares have been breached so many times that it's been out in the public domain for years. It wasn't intentional, but it happened due to breaches.
So then when that begs the question, then what is a healthy regulation or a healthy guidance? So other episodes that we've had people on, we've talked about providing, there's been a lot of conversation around biases. Like what is a Republican view versus a Democrat view? What is a liberal, conservative, and all the different cultural biases that also exist, and how do you navigate all that to kind of have a level playing field of this is what it is. So, for example, Wikipedia was a user-generated encyclopedia of history, and it's kind of been hijacked into a different point of view of a version of history, and not so much all of history. For example, like if you look up the Clintons, Bill Clinton, his Wikipedia profile has changed multiple times over the course of even the last 12 months on things that did exist that no longer exist. And of course, you go to the Internet Archive to see what was there and what was removed, just to see, wow, we're getting a version of events. But now you got AI and you got these LLMs, and the question is, okay, so Vice President Vance says, let's not go deep on regulation, but what about the biases that you could also be very hurtful, harmful, or misleading to all different groups of people? Where does that line, and who is responsible for it? Is that an industry council that should be dedicated to it, or is that a government?
Well, that would assume, John, that the industry is going to go someplace other than it is right now, that AI is going to function differently than it does right now. All it is today is a statistical model that's anticipating what the next word is.
Just math.
It's just math. There honestly should be no bias in the math. Math is math.
However, you saw the results when somebody would go in and say, show me a picture or an image from the Civil War, or show me an image of the Revolutionary War, and it had it just mischaracterized the people within the photos, grossly mischaracterized it, so much so that Google had to update their model and admit they made a mistake.
They had to add more data.
Yeah. Is that what it is?
Yep. I mean, the smaller the data set, just like statistical analysis, the smaller the data set, the more isolated the data set, the more biased it's going to be towards whatever is included in that data. So it's just like you look at, like, show me a picture of a clock with the time of 12:30. It can't do it because there's most of the pictures that it's been trained on show 10 and 2. And so it's not reasoning, it's just trying to find the nearest thing in its archive to pull forward.
So we all want to think that this model, that ChatGPT or any of these AI models actually can think. They don't.
No, it's not thinking at all.
They're not thinking at all. They're just processing the data. They're processing the math, the statistics behind it to say, okay, if I say this word, statistically, this is the next word that should follow.
Well, then what should people be worried about then, in terms of from a governing body? From a governing body.
Just like anything, I mean, you don't ask a question of ChatGPT and run on that as truth, just like you shouldn't with the internet. Check your facts. Check where is that source coming from. Ask someone that's not ChatGPT to confirm the answer that you got. You got to put some critical thinking over this, and I think that's the problem. It's the same issue with cybersecurity. People are lazy and they act in haste, and that adds a lot of weight to being succumb to cybersecurity threats or succumb to the negative aspects of AI. Slow down. Ask proper questions and follow up.
Yeah.
Are the models getting better? Is the data getting better?
Absolutely.
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 You know, you go back to the early, the initial launch of ChatGPT, and there's an example of an attorney that asked ChatGPT to come, present 3 case studies as it relates to the case that he was working on, and he takes those 3 case studies to court. Guess what? They weren't even real case studies.
Oh no.
ChatGPT just made it up because that's the other piece of these AI models. They want to please you.
Yes, they do.
I remember that
They
guy.
want to please you.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for doing that and admitting your mistakes. Thank you.
Thanks for giving us the story to talk about today.
I knew he was being lazy. I thought it'd be
that's
funny.
Great. I love ChatGPT. Well, and that moves us to where's the industry going, talking about getting back to the headlines here. So, SoftBank and OpenAI and Oracle all announced that about Stargate, a $500 billion AI infrastructure push to build data centers to handle this next wave, next generation. And, what does a $500 billion AI data center look like? Who's in charge of it? Is that money actually available or not? Because, again, Elon tweeted out that they don't even have that kind of cash. What are your thoughts? I know you have some thoughts even on the name Stargate.
I do. I have plenty of thoughts. I mean, starting with what does it look like? Yeah. I mean, they talked a bit about it. It's not only the data center, it's the cooling capabilities, it's building out the power capabilities. It is
Water source.
ultimately a self-contained data center computer system.
Energy capture system is a big part of it.
With the energy to run these supercomputers and the electricity and what have you to maintain all of that, how do you make that self-sustaining?
Well, we're going to find out.
Okay.
And I think a bigger challenge than the electricity is the water. I mean, there's so much water being used right now to cool these data centers that, we have to build out electrical grids and generation. Great, but we can't build out water. So where are we going to get all that stuff? And we're not. So you've got to come up with more ingenious ways to bring down the temperature, or capture it and reuse it. So, being an IT nut who used to work in data centers, those enclosures were as porous as you can imagine because they wanted to vent the heat as much as possible. Well, now they're going into the enclosures that are going into new data centers are airtight. And there are systems that are pulling the heat out of that airtight enclosure and using that heat as energy to keep generating. So, I mean, that's, I think, where a lot of the innovation is going to be coming with this push is how do we grow this electric generation with the constraints that we have with water, with space. And there's going to be some really cool aspects that are coming out around energy recapture. And the other part of this is the models that we're using now are generating probably the most energy that any model will ever generate. I mean, DeepSeek came out and they're generating, a tenth of the energy?
Allegedly.
Or they're using a tenth of, but I think that's going to be another iteration of the technological advancement is these models won't require as much power to do what it already can do.
Right.
Maybe the next generation of advanced technology will require more power, but we're going to get more and more efficient as we build these models.
Yeah.
Well, and it's going to be really interesting to see. Is it going to continue down that path, or are we going to move to, where is AI actually going to move to? Is it going to move to agents that are talking, all these small language models talking to each other, or are we going to continue with the massive language model? It's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out.
Well, why can't both exist?
They will.
They will.
Yeah,
They
because
will.
I think both of them play a major role in all of our lives. I know for my company, askClever, we do AI lead generation. So we have AI chatbots. We use AI voice to call people, to set up appointments, confirm appointments, what have you, for our clients. And those are what I would consider pretty small LLM models, And then you have the massive LLM models that are literally creating, they're doing programming, coding, they're doing security, test environments, and all these different massive things, and for our company, we're even rolling into video production, AI video production, and that is a large LLM model, versus AI chatbots. Those are pretty simple LLMs. So, both exist today.
Yep.
And what's interesting is, even when I'm on social media, and whether there's a sports star, some athlete coming out with an announcement, I have been sucked into some of these things, share them with my 18-year-old, and he goes, "Dad, that's a deep fake. That's AI. That's not even real." And I'm like, no way, because it sounds just like him. It looks just like him. But these AI on the video side have been so realistic. It's hard to even, for me, who's very aware that these exist, to tell the difference.
Oh, it's gotten crazier and crazier. I saw this video the other day of the title on Instagram was unidentified airship being escorted by U.S. aircraft. It's like, wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, you scroll down towards the bottom, it says, "This image generated with AI." I'm like, oh, got me. Here, I thought the aliens were here.
And I think that's going to be the challenge going forward, is the different tech companies responsible for disclosing up front that this is AI generated versus not. Even on the music side or on the video side or photography for that matter.
Yep.
Well, look at ChatGPT right now, the notification at the bottom. ChatGPT can make mistakes. OpenAI doesn't use Octellient workspace data to train its models. So that's got the notification already on here, right? We're going down that path already.
Right.
And, I think as we look at kind of where our conversation has gone today, are there geopolitical situations that arise as part of this? As it relates to that and the deep fakes and everything else? Absolutely. This is a race. Let's not forget that.
Yep.
This is the new arms race.
Yeah, and whoever wins this race will control global politics for a decade.
Correct.
Plus.
Yeah. Just recently, the UK and US did refuse to sign the AI declaration at the Paris Summit. And that goes right into what we're discussing here, which is Vice President Vance saying, hey, we don't need more regulation. That's only going to hinder things. And let's see where it goes. And then if it gets too far off the rails, I'm sure they'll throw us.
Well, we already look at what GDPR has done to the cost of managing security and privacy in organizations. And if this is an arms race and whoever gets there first, I don't want to have, as the U.S., I don't want to have to cut through all of that regulation that the U.K. may drop on it for themselves.
Yep.
I don't want to deal with that. That's not where we're going as a country with it, right? Potentially. Right. So, yeah, it's going to be, again, I keep saying this, but it's just interesting to watch it kind of unfold.
Yeah.
It's pretty great time to be alive.
Well, it is interesting. Do you see more AI agents used in cybersecurity? Is that a smaller LLM being like these task AI bots
I mean,
being used?
they were being used 5 years ago.
No, for sure not.
Yeah, they were.
Oh, they were?
Oh, yeah. When I was CISO, we brought in a cybersecurity application that was a behavioral AI analysis tool that would learn what what the normal of your company is.
Okay.
It took about 2 months, and then anything that was outside of that normal, it would flag. And the AI that came in, the solution that came in after we implemented it, you could set up response actions. If it noticed certain aspects, it would come in and shut down. So if our CEO all of a sudden sent 10 terabytes of data at 3 a.m, it would shut down her account before anything left the network.
Okay.
So, I mean, this has been around, and it wasn't called an agent because that terminology didn't really come into play until 2024 in the public.
It really was called machine learning.
It was machine learning. Yep.
We used it 10 years ago.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's been in products for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Those same kind of things, identifying what's normal, what's not, alerting on it, those types of capabilities.
Prescriptive responses. But now it's more behavioral, and it's adapting to various environments rather than just being programmatic.
And that's an important thing for people to remember is that LLMs have been around, like you said, 10 plus years. I know in my industry, in marketing and advertising, you see that on the advertising platforms. So when you are spending money on Google AdWords or on the Meta ad platform, it's constantly learning what type of customer you want. That's why they put the pixel on there. The whole platform wants to learn the right type of customer to help you increase your sales. That's the whole point, and it's been around ever since the ad platform began. It's always a machine learning, trying to do it better, faster, easier.
Yeah, and these AI agents, I mean, it's nuts. Like, go look it up out there. And watch them in action. It's pretty crazy to watch 3 computers talk to each other in common English language.
Yes.
Right? We're so used to, everything being coded, right? Now with these agents, they're talking in common English language. It's pretty wild.
Right.
And think about agents in travel. Right?
Okay.
We already call travel agents, people travel agents.
Right.
AI agents in travel are going to replace travel agents.
Sure. Absolutely.
Everything. Tell it what you want. Create the itinerary. Book everything. Right. We're going to get to the point where they'll be booking and making those reservations
at the same level or better than what's currently existing.
Correct. And that's going to be all done through agents in different, set up in different capabilities. My business partner at Octellient has a different view on agents. He thinks it's old infrastructure and we should be looking at the new thing. But I also look at it and go, this is how we are going to get all these systems to talk together and how we're going to maximize the benefit of it. If I can have an agent that's only learning the specific process, or a small language model that's only learning the specific process instead of everything in the world, how much better is it going to be in delivering on that process?
Yeah, task-oriented agents are the wave of the future. I think you see that in healthcare. We talked about that in our pre-show conversation. Healthcare is extremely inefficient. I think most people who've ever been to a doctor or a hospital would agree with that, and has a lot of opportunity to cut out the red tape and the bureaucracy within healthcare.
Well, and healthcare's always been behind the technology curve, especially the admin side. Maybe not cut-break technology for fighting disease, but managing the whole healthcare system, that's been so far behind that they can almost leapfrog now and skip 20 years of catch-up by starting to deploy agents. Now, they might not have the structure and the data in the right way to do so yet, and then it's a lot of prep work, but it's amazing how fast they can catch up now that the technology is so universal.
Well, and how do you feel with HIPAA being part of that equation versus like other LLMs and other industries don't have the privacy data?
Sure.
That HIPAA...
I think the biggest thing will be they'll be closed systems. They won't be open to the public LLMs out there. They'll just be their private language model, and
They may use pieces of the large model,
they might,
but they're
it'll
going to
be
pull that into the
it'll still be
their
a
own
closed
closed
system.
model.
Yep, absolutely. So there will be no leakage of data.
Got it.
I mean, you can't have that. There's a lot of privacy stuff that just doesn't exist, social security numbers and bank, but health data is one thing that still is somewhat private.
Well, and you think about that from a geopolitical standpoint, if that stuff gets out,
Yeah.
right? If it's all in one place and we can attack that one large language model and we can get all of that data now as an adversary, China, Russia, Iran, I know everything about your entire health of your population.
That's not good.
Pretty easy to create attack surface on that.
Yeah, we as humans are really good at weaponizing anything. So weaponized health information could be disastrous.
Sure. But on the other side, to talk on the positive side,
Oh no, that's a different show, I think.
it also could help people who are sick or who do need attention to be treated on an individual basis if the hospital or the clinic had an AI agent. And in the closed LLM, meaning that it's specific to that clinic or that hospital, and they had your history, it could give a little bit more at a medical level response.
Customized care per the patient.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
Well, and you think about, that's what was talked about it when they talked about launching Stargate, and Larry Ellison talking about that. And healthcare is the first place they're going to use it. Healthcare is already changing dramatically from it. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about being a radiologist or you are a radiologist, that job is not going to exist in its current fashion in the future. The AI models are catching disease in images better, faster, more efficiently than humans.
And I'm thinking even mammograms,
any kind of imaging.
Any kind of imaging,
kind.
MRI,
MRIs.
CT,
Yep.
mammogram, any of that.
Yep.
When you think about the time that those radiologists have, and they have about 45 seconds per image that they're looking through, they're going to miss stuff. We're human.
Right.
Computers don't miss stuff.
Right. Yeah, because they're trained.
And they're going to catch stuff that maybe the human eye doesn't see.
And they are doing.
And
that.
they are, yes.
Today I'm hearing that they're running those images through AI after a radiologist has reviewed it, and they're catching stuff that the radiologist didn't catch. Now that leads to a whole nother conversation, around ethics and around capabilities and what do we do with that. But the reality is the models are catching the data.
Yeah, and I think that just doesn't happen in just healthcare. I see that in the legal standpoint in that industry. I see that in marketing and advertising in my industry.
Security, we see it in security. It's
where
the same deal.
You have the AI double checking the human work and finding the gaps.
Yep.
And when we look to that, there's the next phase. So in my mind, and I don't know what you guys think about this, but in my mind, so I'm almost 50 years old. I've seen two shifts in what I call humanity. One is the internet. I tell my son I'm older than Google. That is a true statement. And then saw the internet, and that changed all of us. And then when social media happened, that changed all of us. And now we're on this third wave that is coming in these next 12 to 24 months with AI just being part of everything. And what does that mean is the rise of AI robots. Because when you can bring the AI and a robot into your house, which is exactly what Tesla's doing with the Optimus, and of course there are other competitors to that will be coming out later this year and next year, when you can have a robot do your laundry, or you could even ask your robot, hey, I need to lose 30 pounds or gain 30 pounds, and it can tell you down to exactly what it's going to cost you at the grocery store because it's plugged into a Hy-Vee or any other grocery store that there is, and tell you exactly how much it's going to cost, what you need to do on a daily basis, and potentially even prepare the food for you as well, because it has an MIT level of understanding of what to do. That's a game changer. That is a game changer. Same with even managing your finances, whether you say, hey, I'm saving $500 a month or $1,000 a month, and it's helping you grow that savings account faster, better than any other private wealth management person out there, because it's at that level. It's trained. It already knows how to do it, and it can tell you exactly where you're going to be at which time in life and how much you're going to have based off of what it's doing. Because having that is really a game changer. And I tell my oldest son, I have an old son and I have a young one at the beginning part of his career, and that the robot industry is going to change all of us. The AI robot industry, and it will be interesting. Like, I had a friend of mine say, hey, what do you think about, like, if you had your robot and you were walking in downtown Minneapolis and you said, hey, can you go pick up my prescription, or can you go to the store and pick this up for me? And the robot's walking down the street. Do you think that people would be kind to your robot?
I think it's already been shown when they're out in public that we aren't kind to the robots in general.
That's right. Yeah, whether it's Waymo,
Yep.
Where you have a car driving by itself, and you've seen a lot of violence towards that. Amazon delivery vehicles that are unmanned, and they get tossed around and whatever. So these food delivery service companies and all these different ways that they're trying to use robots, and the human has been basically against that. And the question is why? Why does humanity feel so threatened?
Because we've been trained since the 50s.
Sci-fi movies.
Sci-fi movies and all of that back in the day, since then, right? I mean, you look back at the 50s and the robots, and how they were portrayed sort of as idiots. The robot didn't know, it made mistakes and all of that. And yes, they do make mistakes.
Of course.
But I think we've been culturally trained to deal with them that way.
To look
it's going
down
to take
on them.
it's going to take a bit of a culture change to get us comfortable, right? I mean, we're resistant to change as a culture.
Yeah, but don't you think that the human wants dominance over the machine? Isn't that kind of the dynamic at play?
Well, we always want to be smart. We always think we're the smartest, right?
Right. Yeah.
We always
It's
think we're
human nature.
smarter than the computer, and
Right.
and traditionally we have, because we've written the code on that.
Right.
But now they're operating, right? When we talk about agents, when we talk about models, they're operating at a different level than traditional software has.
Correct. Because they are learning on their own, and that doesn't stop.
Right.
And
Now the picture that you painted, I think, is one that's down the road a little ways. That's not going to happen right off the bat. I mean, even if we look at like Tesla cars,
okay.
right? If we use that as our example for autonomy,
Yeah.
when they first came out with their self-driving, they had thousands, millions of lines of code. It wasn't very good. It was really jerky. It didn't always do the right thing. It changed lanes really sporadically.
Yeah.
Like, it did weird stuff.
Right. And that was
Then
in
we've-
2015, 2016, because I remember that.
Yep.
Right. So then they captured 6-8 years of data, and then they went to this neural network. And the self-driving capabilities today are on the neural network, all used with images. That car drives just like you and I do.
Yep.
When it makes a right-hand turn and I have to make a left at halfway up the next block, it will cut across 2 lanes of traffic and get into that turn lane. It doesn't do a 1 lane over, 1 lane over, 1 lane over like it used to. It just takes off and goes.
Sure.
So if we use that as kind of the basis of where we're at
Right.
and where things are going, we're going to get there faster.
Okay.
We get us writing that code out of the way and get the models living in reality. They're going to learn faster and operate better.
Sure. I mean, and when you have a robot at home, it's a little bit different than a car. I mean, the environment's a little bit safer. There's not as many things. Where the furniture is. You know how the refrigerator works and what have you. It's not as.
You mean you're never going to move your furniture around and really screw with the robot? Move the spices to the other side of the stove.
You know, maybe once or twice a year. Maybe, I don't know. No, I'm pretty like, I like my things where they go. Don't shift it too much. But you know what I do see with the AI robots is that it will be another shift for all of us culturally. And like you said and pointed out earlier, that yeah, it will take time to see this shift. You know, I mean, you know, like it literally physically will take time because you have to build these robots and then they learn. And then, of course, there will be software updates and all these different things. And there will be things that they do that are incorrect or they break things. And, you know, there'll be these patches and what have you. But then there's a security that comes along with that technology as well. Can they be hacked? Can they take over? You know, what can happen? Those sort of things. There'll be a different dynamic.
It's going to be just like raising a kid all over again.
But, you know, can it go, like we live in Minnesota, can it go up to Canada and back without a passport? You know, because it's not really human. So it will be interesting if it can go there without.
I'm going to say yes because someone's going to use it to smuggle stuff across.
Right. It has to be registered, and you have to have a passport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will be interesting.
It will be.
It will be. What are your concerns, Matt, about AI robots and the development? What kind of guidance, security should people be thinking about? Should there be concerns? You know, we have Alexa in our households today. They're, you know, a small little thing is definitely listening to us already, which is owned by a big corporation. You know, you have the Ring cameras. Also, you know, I mean, big corporations watching your house anyway. Yeah. I mean, how much should we be concerned?
Well, that's where I say earlier, right?
No
We've
privacy.
given up our privacy.
Yeah, you put one of those in your house, it's over. You put a Ring doorbell on your house, it's over. You know, someone's paying attention to all of that and storing that data. So you're giving your privacy away for convenience. That's the trade-off. And just like robotics, that's another one where I'm going to give up privacy and potential a little bit of security for convenience. And the balance will be how much convenience versus what do I have to give up to get it. That's going to be a challenge for society to get to that point, to get the ultimate benefits that I think are truly out there. But again, it's going to take some time, and I think it'll be an iteration of growth, not on the technology side, but society's acceptance of it. And I'm sure there'll be some false flags where there's a big rollout and there's a blow up of something and, we're going to pull back and we're going to change some stuff up. And just like any technology, any change, you're going to have a percentage of the population that'll jump into it without thinking. They just want to try the new.
Right.
And then there's another percentage that won't want to try it at all because it is new.
Right.
And then there's most of us in the middle that are just going to kind of watch and see and figure out if it makes sense for us.
Yeah.
Individually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even with the AI robots, so my mother had dementia and she recently passed away. And if they had a robot kind of being the caretaker, could even, you know, use like, let's say my voice to talk to her or any other family member to talk to her, that would really maybe potentially help her live a better quality of life because of that interaction. And of course, as you know, with a chatbot, you could do that anyways. It's not really difficult or anything. All this technology exists today, except having the robot sit there. But it really could sit with anybody who might feel lonely or depressed. And these are the pieces of healthcare and mental health that we haven't really touched on. But these are some of the benefits that could happen with this technology.
There's a lot. Absolutely.
And you know, the picture that you're painting, John, I think we're not quite there from an AI perspective yet, but we'll get there, right? We'll get there with context. We'll get there with predictability. We'll get there with some feelings potentially, and how those are dealt with. The models don't allow for that yet today, right? They're not operating in that space, at least from what I've seen. You know, the context, the feelings, right? We have to remember this still today is a machine.
It's just doing math.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like you said, Matt, it's just doing math.
It will switch to actually doing reason, to do logical analysis, but it's just not there yet.
Well, and like I said, let's use the example of the Tesla cars and the self-driving. It's that same progression that happens going from, hard-coded self-driving to a neural network that's based on images. And when I see this image, I'm safe to go.
Sure.
Right? If I don't see anything else in this image, I'm good to go.
Sure.
Because of everything else, all the hundreds and thousands of images, millions of images that I've already captured.
Sure. And then when you have all of that working through a smaller LLM, it will be really interesting to see how it impacts the quality of life for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fine-tuned to do anything you want it to do.
Sure.
It'd be much more effective at it.
And then, I mean, how important is it to have, what do I say this right? Sentient? Am I saying that right?
AGI?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you tell people what AGI means?
What is it? It's
I got it right here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking this up a minute ago. So the description is known as strong AI. It aims to replicate human-like intelligence, enabling machines to learn, reason, and solve problems across various domains.
Adaptive general intelligence.
There it is.
Isn't that what it is?
pretty close.
Yeah. And then there's super also. So I asked, just on my own because I'm curious,
Please.
I asked what the different types of AI are based on capabilities. So there's narrow AI, which is I think what you guys have been talking about the whole time, basically. Math. It's just doing math.
Yep.
Right?
LLMs, machine learning.
Yeah. General AI, which is what I just described. AGI, or artificial general intelligence, would require advanced neural networks capable of transferring knowledge across tasks, mimicking human cognitive abilities. And then super gets a little funky.
Okay.
That is a hypothetical stage of AI that surpasses human intelligence in all aspects, including creativity, decision-making, and emotional intelligence. Uh-oh.
Now, ChatGPT, does super AI exist today?
Hypothetical stage.
Okay.
So
no.
So then we'll just be like WALL-E, where we're just floating around not doing anything because the technology is doing everything for us.
Right. And then we'll just get fat.
Then we just get fat and forget why we were there.
Oh, you humans.
Thanks, ChatGPT. But the question is, does that bring a better quality of life than what exists today? Like if the computer does all of the minutia of life, and now we're allowed to explore our own inner talents, our own inner creativity, does the machine automate or help provide a better quality of life, or not? Or is it worse for humanity?
It's going to be a massive mindset shift.
Absolutely. I would say if it replaces purpose, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And it depends on what your purpose is. So, I mean, if your purpose is to solve complex problems, well, that's going to be a change because you've already got something that can do it way better than you ever could.
Right.
But if your purpose is just to experience life, well, then AI will come in, or all of this will help do everything for you. And just like anything, there'll be a tipping point where society comes and goes, yeah, you know what? I don't think we want technology to do that anymore. I'd rather, it can do it better, but I don't think we want it to do it better.
Right.
And I don't know when that'll be.
History's already given us a glimpse. Like,
Sure.
let's
Which is
look
what?
at the Jetsons, man. Come on.
Between that and The Simpsons, it's pretty much
Very predictable, yeah.
predicting most of how it goes. Well, this has been a great conversation, which leads us into our next segment, which is one of my favorite segments that we do on every episode. So if you haven't seen an episode yet, definitely check out the other ones. The Fast Five with AI. It's a fun segment where ChatGPT, rattles off 5 questions. Now we have 2 guests. Normally we only have 1 guest on each episode. So this is going to be fun. And ChatGPT, I will let you take it from here.
All right, great. Interesting conversation, you guys. All right, question number 1. And these are intended to be 1 to 5 word answers. So try and keep it short. We will go with Matt. What's one AI tech you couldn't live without, or you cannot currently live without?
Right now, it's ChatGPT, just using LLM for writing. I use it every day.
Okay. Chris?
AI, generally speaking, different models to spark creativity.
Will AI replace CEOs in the next 10 years?
No, but augment them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Same answer from both of you?
Yep.
Okay. AI in movies, more accurate or exaggerated?
Disturbing at times.
Mostly exaggerated.
Okay. What's the biggest cybersecurity threat AI brings?
Autonomous adaptive attacks outside of our predictive capabilities.
For clarification there, this would be something that can not only attack, but then learn along the way and just keep attacking?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, you got anything? That was what's the biggest cybersecurity threat AI brings?
I think it's the rush to shiny is the biggest threat right now.
Okay.
Humans acting too quickly on stuff that maybe is not fully vetted.
Okay. In 3 words, describe the future of AI.
Fast, disruptive, unpredictable.
Nice.
Transformative, beautiful, and scary.
All right. Well, that was it for all my questions today.
Well, thank you, ChatGPT.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Hopefully you learned from us today.
And we'll
I
be
learned.
using it in responses in the future.
Right.
There were a few times along the way that I think you said things that I will hold on to. I'm just going to let you guys know.
Yeah.
Might come back to haunt you.
Yep.
Well, in closing, like, what would you say, Matt, from this conversation? What would be like a couple of takeaways that you would take away from this conversation for yourself?
Embrace the change,
Okay.
but keep your head up. Be cautious of things that might be trying to take more than it's giving.
Sure. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, embrace it, use it, dig into it, but do so cautiously and providing that human oversight. We have to keep the human in the loop, at least today.
I would agree with that. Well, Sam, I know you're ChatGPT, but Sam, like, what if we were to play yourself right now? What was some of the takeaways from the conversation? Because I want to include you as part of it.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some concern that what we're creating might, in some way, snuff out some of the essence of what is humanness. If there's a cheat code that gets you from birth to intellectual superstar because you've got this agent, but you never had to go through all of the things that we all stumbled over or failed at, or I don't know if we're so much human anymore than if we're reliant upon machines that we've created to do all of the things that we could do better than what, even our creativity. It feels to me like our creativity and exploring the beauty of the mountains, or getting to know, painting, or knowing your neighbor. You don't get to do those things until you've failed and fell flat on your face enough times to get to the point where they actually matter to you. Mm-hmm. So if it's all just handed to you, I'm not sure that we're human anymore. That's my concern.
Sure.
Do you think the settlers that landed here felt that same way? If they looked at where we're at today from a technology perspective?
Are we as human as they were?
Yeah, I mean, there's communities of people around the country who are living still in that era, in that time, and there's a part of me that wonders if it's because somehow there is some awareness of the calamity that could come, and they know that this might not be sustainable, and maybe that was sort of foreseen in some way. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So I don't know what the original folks would say, but I'm sure, plenty of them died trying to make a living in this world. Mm-hmm. And if this is a new renaissance that does that, I sure hope that the benefits of it are spread at least somewhat equitably across the planet.
I know for myself, one of the takeaways is that no matter how much the technology does advance, each of us in our own lives, that our own morals and ethics are going to even come more to the table of who we are as people. And, for myself and I'm constantly growing in my own personal faith with God, and I think that as that doesn't get lost as we move forward, but it helps shape me as a person in every decision that I make, because that can't get lost in anything that we do. Otherwise, it's all for nothing, in my opinion.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I feel like the future, if it allows me to get out of the monotony of the day-to-day stuff and actually rise above the trees to see the forest, I'm in a better place. I'm in a better thought process. I'm in a healthier place mentally. I don't have to deal with the grind, every day.
Your time is going to more value-added things. I mean, you hear that in the corporations, but even in life, like
Sure.
if you don't have to do half of the monotonous stuff every day.
Well, and everybody's already searching for that today.
Yes, they are.
Right? We go to these networking events and everybody's already searching for that. So if this is an avenue to get us to that point faster, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to end each episode with one positive quote to share. And this is where I asked ChatGPT myself. And I would like to share it with you. It says, "Keep your face always toward the sunshine and shadows will fall behind you," by Walt Whitman. And this is another great episode by Ask Clever Over Coffee, How AI Built This.